When I read 1 Peter 1:17 through 18, since you call on a Father who judges each person's work impartially, live out your time as foreigners here in reverent fear. For you know that it was not with perishable things such as silver or gold that you were redeemed from the empty way of life handed down to you from your ancestors. I am reminded of my own journey, of the painful yet necessary process of learning what it truly means to live holy before God. At first, I thought being saved was just about believing in Him, saying I loved Him, worshiping Him with my lips, and having faith in my heart. I would say, He knows my heart, as if that excused my actions. I thought it didn't matter what I did outwardly with my body as long as my heart was in the right place. I'd say, come as you are. And I believed that that was the end of it. But what I didn't realize was that coming as you are is just the beginning. After coming to Him, you enter into the process of sanctification, a daily journey of being purified, shaped, and conformed to His ways. I had to learn that salvation is not just a moment of inward belief, but a lifelong transformation that involves my whole being, body, soul, and spirit. The word says to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, Philippians 2:12. As I began to understand this, I saw that my old ways, the ways handed down to me from my upbringing, my culture, my family, were empty, rooted in the traditions of the world, not in the holiness of God. I remember when God began to deal with me about outward holiness. He opened my eyes to the fashions of the world, the makeup, the jewelry, the changing of my natural appearance to fit into a worldly standard of beauty. These were things I had clung to for so long, straightening my hair because I didn't like how God made it, copying the styles of the women around me, wearing heels, jewelry, and clothes that drew attention to myself. I felt incomplete without these things, as if I wasn't enough the way God had created me. When God called me to let go of those things, it felt like stripping away my very identity. It was painful, so painful. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and ashamed, like I was standing naked before the world. And I resented the process. I was angry and thought, why didn't I know this from the beginning? Why wasn't I taught this when I first came to Christ? If only I had known. If only I had been brought up in a church or a family that taught holiness and separation from the world, I wouldn't have had to go through the pain of giving it all up. It felt like everything I had built my confidence on was being torn down, and I had nothing to hide behind. But that was the point. I had been hiding behind those things, and God was calling me to stand fully exposed before Him, dependent only on His love and approval, not the approval of the world. I think about the traditions handed down from our ancestors, the way we were raised, the values and practices instilled in us. When those things are rooted in the world, they become stumbling blocks when we come to the truth. If only I hadn't been raised with those attachments, it would have been easier. If I hadn't been taught to find beauty and worth in the world's standards, I wouldn't have had to go through the painful process of unlearning them. I used to wish I had been born into a church or a family that taught these things from the beginning, where holiness and righteousness were lived out and expected. Maybe then I wouldn't have had gone so far into the world, wouldn't have clung so tightly to the makeup, the fashions, the pride, and the vanity. But then I realized, even if I had been raised that way, without a true conversion, it wouldn't have mattered. Outward obedience without inward transformation is still empty. What I've learned is that the pain of giving those things up was part of my sanctification, part of being made holy as He is holy. God was stripping me of everything that tied me to the world so that I could follow Him fully. And yes, it hurts. But now I look back and see it was worth it. I see that He wasn't being harsh or demanding. He was calling me into something higher, something pure, something eternal. I am still learning what it means to walk in holiness, to live as a foreigner in this world with reverent fear of the God who redeemed me. He didn't redeem me with silver or gold, but with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. That sacrifice demands more than lip service. It calls for my whole life, body, soul, and spirit, to be consecrated to Him. And so I press on, learning His ways, submitting to His will, and trusting that He who began a good work in me will carry it on to completion.